What is the industry level interface that they use in sound? For content creation, there is no money making in there. How do they apply to studio?
The minute you talk about multiple things, that guy sitting on the chair will think, dude, this guy knows more than me. Why would he take you in? See, most people in the interview table are looking at the attitude.
What do you think? Will AI take over people like us?
It's not a threat, I would say, but yes, you can see what's happened in the industry. If you're looking at visual effects specifically, a lot of people have lost their jobs. But that's also not just because of AI, it's because... So I would keep it more interactive, and I thought also the strength is very small. So I guess we should keep hopping and just assume that someone from the industry is here in front of you. And I have come here to learn from you guys, the new tricks and new thoughts that you all have. That's more the important point. My name is Joseph Sabu, as I mentioned, but I'm mostly known as Sabu Jose. So if you search for me as Sabu Jose is what you will actually find me. So I was the same place like you all. I've done my graduation in visual communication. I was brought up in Chennai, so then it was very new, this kind of courses. Probably 93, 94, yeah. So there was Loyola College in Chennai. I finished my visual communication there. It was a 3-year graduation course. For some reason, it was called BSc Visual Communication. And that's how I got into it, because I did my science till there, and then I wanted to move into advertising and film, and I could coax my parents into one course, you know, because they didn't want me to get into filmmaking, which was at, like how we have Pune Film Institute, we have one in Adyar. They were not for it, but luckily this had a title of BSc and Visual Communication, so I could easily jump in and bridge into it. Ashley, yes, I spotted you. Okay, a lot of familiar faces around, I guess. But anyways, so that's part of a small introduction from my college. Then I moved into Mumbai, and then I started working here, mainly into advertising. So probably more than 20, 25, around 25 years of experience in advertising. Advertising, when I say, is mostly the filmmaking part of it, not the brand and strategy part of it. So I've been into graphics, editing, finally moved into visual effects. So that's the journey that I guess we could share, and you can gain some insights into that form of it. So if you just go to the next slide, Matthew's going to help me out. Very politely, he came and started helping. I need a lot of help from him. So this is a little brief about me before we get into everything else, so you know what I've been up to. I make ad films now. I've been into visual effects for some time, and I also consult as a creative director. So there is this studio called Identical Brain, which is now growing very fast. They've come with an IPO, and they have like almost 100 seats of visual effects artists across India and all of that. So they do a lot of feature film effects. I'm kind of a consultant with them. I also consult with another advertising-based studio called Digital Cafe. And then I have my own firm, which I've started. It's called ClearFX. It's been there for the last, say, 8 to 10 years. So ClearFX predominantly now I'm trying to focus more on content creation. Visual effects has been part of my journey, and you know, I see a big gap because of the sudden technology shift that's happened across the last 5 years with AI and virtual production and all of those new technologies coming in. So I'm putting some conscious effort into bridging this gap because technology is something which is very close to me. So that's predominantly what I do. Like what is return? Yeah, I worked with all these popular brands during my time, and of course, travel the globe has been mainly for shoots because it's too expensive to travel the globe otherwise. So when I started doing visual effects, that was one advantage that I got. You know, until then I was doing editing and graphics. I used to be always based in a studio in a room. When I started doing visual effects is when a director or a production house, when they required, they would, you know, take me to the shoot locations. So there are some shoots which have gone for in Romania, some shoots in Bangkok, some shoots in Australia. But yeah, out of my job is when I have traveled in New York and in multiple places within the country, Rajasthan and all of those. We did something for Tata Motors. It was almost like a picnic because we had to travel from like Kanyakumari to Spiti Valley and have taken shots in all of these places because what happens is most of these movie stars these brands sign up with, it's very funny, they just give them a day or two and you have a whole film to shoot. So what we would do is then we would pre-plan all of these things in visual effects, how to execute it. So we just have one day with the celeb, probably on a chroma flow. So we would go and shoot the background plates for them with a dummy or whatever, the various techniques that we use. And then we come back and then shoot the star, the celeb for that one day against chroma and put him into that film. So we would do all the traveling and doing all the shots from behind because technically we need to follow some guidelines so that we could, in terms of lighting, a lot of details for us to check so that we can execute the plan with the star later. So that way I got to travel quite a bit when I started doing visual effects. Feature film, honestly, not many I have done. I don't know if you've seen this movie called Goomer that came probably 2 or 3 years back. It was a cricket-based movie. But the protagonist, the hand is cut, the cricketer. So and she's doing bowling. When in real life, of course, she had her hand. So we did that in visual effects. Jawan, I did a small piece of it. Shadi FX is pretty old. And there are a few more some Hollywood stuff which was piecemeal work. I wouldn't mention those. If I just briefly take a few moments before we get into a main topic, of course, it's not ready. It's about just guiding you guys how to move forward in your jobs and career. So I've played all these different roles because then this was the only way for you to acquire knowledge. And like now we have internet and YouTube and all of that. This is before 2000. So whenever I got a chance, I had to really test what I really wanted. So I worked as an assistant director, as a sound recordist because I figured out, okay, maybe this is not what it is. I want to get into a studio. I don't want to be traveling with the director. So then I moved into a studio and I got in touch with someone and got into audio recording. I worked as camera assistant, which means also I did a lot of news gathering that time on digital cameras. Traveling across for Independence Day to different states and recording the flag hoisting, then again going back. So that was a very hardworking time, I can say. Photography is something that came very naturally to me. I remember during my college times, I used to end up doing photography assignments of all my other students. And fortunately, unfortunately, I had an Olympus OM 2N. It used to be a film shot camera. Fortunately, unfortunately, I didn't have, the light meter was not working in my camera. So my practice always was to look into my friend's camera for light meter and then adjust the aperture and shutter. But that way, what happened, little later, I didn't require a light meter. I could just see the light and I could set my aperture with, because then you see, we couldn't play too much with ISO or the film speed because that's the film you load in. Once you load 100 ISO or a 200 ISO, then you're going to work with that film. So it's always the combination you had was mostly shutter and aperture. Unlike now, you guys in digital, you can play with the ISO also with sensitivity. So in fact, that really helped me, and it was like magic when the practice helped me to just detect aperture and shutter speeds just looking at light. Of course, when I got into professional photography, shooting models and advertising, I did use a light meter and I did use the normal constant light, umbrella lights. Then CG was starting, so I did a small course in computer graphics and then got into doing 3D animation, 3D modeling, year and a half. And then I got into editing. So editing was just moving into computerized editing, which you guys are used to now. And so then I took that first wave and that really helped me move into editing in that format. And then I don't know if you're familiar with this software called Flame. Are you guys familiar with this? Okay, this is by a company called Autodesk, Flame. These are slightly premium because each of those boxes used to cost 1 crore. So they used to come as a black box. The software hardware is locked. Unlike how you download softwares now. Though now it's available for download, it's called Flame. And the whole of advertising market in Mumbai uses Flame for finishing. So once the edit is done and the color grade is done, I can show you how it works. And then we go on to a Flame so that the finishing of hair, skin, beauty part of it, integrating the CG part of it, all the changes that is required by the client is all handled on the system, on the software called Flame. So it still exists, and I think in India mostly it is in Mumbai. If you go to any advertising-based post-production studios, yeah, they will require a Flame artist. On the contrary, if you go to feature film-based studios, they usually don't have Flame in their studios, but they use Nuke and other softwares. So there's a slight difference between the advertising-based studios and the feature film-based studios. So I'll just show you some of my work just as the next part of it. So usually my work will be a lot of visual effects based.
सपनों का घर फैमिली टाइम से ज्यादा ओवर टाइम पे ध्यान दिया अक्सर शॉपिंग को कभी कभार में बदल दिया शादी की सालगिरह पर तोहफा नहीं दिया लंबे वेकेशन को भी छोटा बना दिया खुशियों को थोड़ा पोस्टपोन किया सपनों के घर के लिए हमने बहुत कॉम्प्रोमाइजेस किए लेकिन इसकी मजबूती के लिए नहीं मित्तल स्टेनलेस स्टील रीबार विद सॉल्ट रेजिस्टेंट एंड एंटी करोजन टेक्नोलॉजी जो घर को रखे मजबूत हमेशा
This one concept, direction, and design was completely mine. This is from AMD, New York. Brief was mainly to make it look like a gaming commercial.
Those who know performance know AMD Ryzen. Get the latest gaming laptops powered by AMD Ryzen processors.
Okay, this is the making of that AMD film which I already showed you. So these are all pretty late in technology.
Those who
I've
know
used
performance
Unreal
know
Engine,
AMD Ryzen.
virtual production. It was a complete chroma shoot, like you can see. She's a celeb from the south, I forget her name.
Get the latest gaming laptops powered by AMD Ryzen processors.
So, I mean, I can keep showing you lots and lots of work, but you can always log into my YouTube channel. So I have makings in it, and also the commercials that I've worked. And what I worked latest one also is there, which is for Carrot Lane, the jewelry ones, which I've used virtual production, which is pretty much late in the technology. So it's basically a studio with huge LED walls and LED volumes. So it you don't have to really travel to like New York or say to Leh Ladakh. We can always get those backgrounds done in CG and project it on the wall. And the CG actually obeys the camera moves, so it tracks the camera moves, and that's the best. That's the pitch against chroma shoot. Chroma shoot, you can't really, change the angle. You're not free to move your camera around. But in this case, since it's 3D, that's been projected on the wall, and it's live 3D from a software. We usually use Unreal. It kind of it takes the tracking information from the camera and it really moves the 3D in terms of depth of field and also in terms of 2D dimension, 3 dimension movements. So this we've used a technology which is very latest called virtual production. These backgrounds are all projected on LED walls.
Soul by Carrot Lane, a Tata product.
So this is a VFX breakdown. I don't know if you've seen this ad. So this is the making of Goomer, the movie. And I can see most of the crowd that's being put in, because when you do the shoot, you won't be able to manage the crowd. So after the shoot, we don't shoot the crowd. We wait for it. So that's pretty much an intro about myself. I hope you all liked what you've seen. May I have a round of claps? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now moving forward to you guys now. So I finished my part. Now it's all interaction from your end. So next slide on this. Okay, this is just few of my work. Are you familiar with this Happy Dent film? Yes. Okay. So that was like really long ago. This Carrot Lane is the last one that I did. AMD with Tara Sutara and the one that you saw, both was a series from AMD New York. These are two films which I had conceptualized and delivered for AMD. Philips, you've seen the making for that. This was a stop motion stuff that I've done. I think you guys must be. I think all these resources you have. You have your chroma, you have your camera. It's exactly the same thing that you guys have, that I have also used. So you all can really do stuff like these. This is on to you guys now. The mic is going to keep floating with you guys now. If you have any questions in what you've seen, with what you want to know about how of my journey, and of course way forward, and what you guys are working on, or anything related to a subject, of course, please, you can feel free to ask.
So for the Carrot Lane shoot, there was one shot where the what do you say? The diamond was in the air. So I just wanted to ask you, while shooting, did you all place a stand, and on that the diamond was there, and then you'll remove from the
Carrot Lane.
Yeah, in the Carrot Lane.
Like the morning sky, they gleam, diamonds dancing every dream. Golden
This shot.
This one?
Yeah.
No, this was CGI.
Okay.
This was CGI. Because this kind of renders you, it's difficult to get and shoot. Right. So when you shoot, you always have some kind of distortion, and the clients were very clear how they want this.
Got it.
So we got this close-ups rendered out of CGI.
Thank you.
making every
But these are light shots. And this is part of the set. This is part of the set.
And there's a LED screen, right, in the back.
LED screen is there, so all the contact, we call it action props. So action props are the ones which you are in contact with. You're sitting on a
Yeah,
chair
yeah.
or a table. In this case, it was this very graphical thing which we wanted to build. So this was built, and it is also cleaned up in post because it's not with this finish. It was much lesser finish. It was not so smooth. It had a lot of air bubbles on it. Cleanup was done, but this action prop, of course, was created and kept and shot. So this is not a chroma behind. This is projected with LED wall. Even the floor is projected. So we had an LED wall on the top which can reflect onto the floor. The floor is semi-reflective. The floor is semi-reflective, so we had an LED wall that could reflect the light from the top. Of the same visual that's here was put up also. So all these are enhanced. These jewelry shots, these are light shots, but this needs work in post. So we use a software called Flame, or you could always do it in After Effects also. So you have to roto these and enhance what's on the skin. So those are separately done, so they stand out slightly differently. And of course, in some cases, we might even replace it with a 3D one if it's very blurred and if it's not very outstanding. So all that happens in the post. Of course, a lot of work on skin and beautification also happens in terms of hair and skin.
Would you prefer using virtual production?
The celebrity and the whole crew, supposing you're shooting a movie, you're like some 15-20 of the actors, plus the lightmen, and all of this put together, you're talking to a 120 member team, out of which at least 50 is moving from different states to make the shoot. So this whole logistic of moving everyone by booking flights and trains and moving them around, and then them falling ill and not in mood and all of that happens. Their stay, their lodging, all this money can be saved if you get into virtual production wherever possible. I truly believe virtual production is the way forward, and of course we don't have a choice. It's like how Google came in and we all started using Google. AI is coming, we will start using AI. So virtual production is coming in and we are going to use AI, virtual production. And it is much more convenient. I'm telling you, in terms of travel, in terms of many things. Even for a celeb, moving a celeb also is a security issue. So it's not just one Amitabh Bachchan going, he's got his convoy of another 25-30 people just moving around him. So to move this whole entourage around, instead you just book Mehboob Studio or ask them to come to Don Bosco and shoot in our chroma studio. It's so safe and it's easily managed that way. So that way virtual production is surely a way to go. In a lot of Hollywood films, especially with the budget crunch, it will really grow. And especially for students and new content creators, I would say virtual production, you should just embrace it because it cuts your costs so much. But if you see a lot of Hollywood work where they had actually storyboarded from Matrix and even the before, from Lord of the Rings, in fact, they've been storyboarding and they work very differently. The pre-prod, they spend like 2-3 years doing the pre-prod, which is up to the storyboard stage. It's a feature film or advertising, whatever it is, depending on it, they take that time, they do the pre-prod. It's very clear because the value for the human, for the technicians is much more. So they always try to reduce the shoot dates. So less creativity on shoot days, in fact. Mainly it's the director, actor involvement in it. The pre-production, they've logged the location, angles and everything as part of pre-production. So when they go to shoot, it's mainly execution and few nuances there and here. In virtual production, what happens, you should already be sure about if it's a forest, okay, is it from Himalayas or is it from here, is it from there? Are we shooting close to a pond or not? So when you get very clear with these questions and then you create that 3D background for them and you light that part for them properly. I think the later generation, like you guys, when you come out, you will surely have a visual because then there was only a storyboarding concept. Now you have many methods and many apps where you make really 3D storyboards where your vision is very clear before you go to the shoot. So in this context, of course, virtual production is much more easier to. Yeah, in pre-prod stage, you need to be clear about the visual, the location, and the angles that you're going to take. Not exactly, at least on a basic level. Then there's also a method you can do it on chroma, where there is less reflection. If you're not using reflective surfaces like a car or glass faces, then you can always shoot on chroma, and you get a live output with the CG. So for an edit, you can use that. So the software will give you a composite out of all the shots with the CGI, though you're shooting against chroma, and you also will get a matte for it. So in case in post you want to still color correct or play around with the depth of field of the background, you can always shoot chroma and you already have the tracked 3D material as an output for you, along with a mat. So it's easier for you to decide that in post.
So my question was ki what is actually the trend going on right now, because I've done animation and I've been working on Maya and Nuke and all that softwares, but they are not coming in use lately. So what is the new ones right now? Because I think Unreal Engine is doing really very well. It's taking over Maya right now. So what's your take on that?
Actually, your question is very valid. What is the current trend in terms of softwares? So Max, Maya, and Nuke are still the main trend. Unreal is a very different technology. The Nuke cannot substitute that. So Unreal is actually come from the gaming side of it. So, but we are trying to synergize Unreal into our software. So where Nuke is, it's doing its role. Maya is doing its role, and they're still part of mainstream because a lot of visual effects studios require Nuke operators, especially for the feature film market. So Nuke is a software where the studios hire them like in 50s and 100s. So that's still a trend. They've not been replaced because they do the comp part of it. In terms of Max and Maya, yeah, that is slowly shifting towards Blender, I see. But if you still see the larger pipelines, the feature film studios across the globe are still mostly using Maya because they've set a pipeline and they've already seen how they deliver larger shots. But yes, Blender is easily coming in. It's an open software, open source, so it's available. So the user base is increasing in Blender. I see that a lot of kids like you who are coming out of college is easily accessible to Blender. And as an open source, the way it's constructed also is pretty light as a software, so it can work on any system. It's very user friendly that way. So yeah, Blender is becoming popular, and I see that it's going to trend into a lot of. So Blender and Unreal is going to come in very hard. But Maya has its own large pipeline. Studios will still stick to Maya. I think as far as advertising goes, maybe most of it will move into Blender easily. But the larger pipelines will take some time to move off Nuke and the pipeline using Blender. See, Nuke work will reduce if virtual production increases. Nuke work will reduce because if you do virtual production using LED walls, then you don't have so much of chroma and so much of comping to figure out. So that way, then both Maya and Nuke work will slightly reduce if you start using virtual production. So that will be the trend now. When you move more to that, this will start reducing slightly a bit. And people will start to adapt to newer softwares in that format. Yeah.
Sir, so I am a sound engineer. I do post-production in sound and all. What is the industry level interface that they use in sound? Because I personally use Adobe Audition.
Okay.
And for music, I use FL Studios. So is there something called as industry level software or interface?
I'll tell you what, industry level software barrier is broken.
Okay.
It's not that that's the only way to do it. Like for editing, we always thought Avid and FCP are the industry standards, but now it's more premium because user base is more premium and you deliver the same thing. And Resolve is also come in doing. So these names were not heard of 6-7 years back. Of course, there were a lot of users trying to use it because of free softwares. And the professionals would always go to an Avid or an FCP, but these softwares have kicked in and they've become more friendly and more integrated with all the other parallel softwares for grading and everything. So then they all have come in. That way, there used to be a software called Fairlight in sound, and then there's from Avid Pro Tools. And so there were some standards before, but now it is what you use, and if you deliver the same output, it's pretty much the same. And before it used to be a block if you know the software or no, because all the softwares had a very different interface, and they always tried to, like how Mac is, they make a system which is only understandable by its own accessories, that was a style when Avid first came, and then when FCP came in, they broke that. So now, in fact, everybody is trying to look like each other so they can eat into the market. So if Avid is a certain way, And if Premiere, FCP, and Resolve is easy on the keyboards and the way the interface is, then more user base increases there. So now even Avid has started shifting into making it look like Windows and like different pages like how I even Resolve. So they're all looking similar. So you can always use whatever it is. It depends on what you're using for, because you have this new industry that's opened up called as content makers, which means you're making your own content. You're not trying to deliver it to like another director or another production house. First, you want to generate your own content, and as long as you're happy with what you're generating, and I think before it used to be very hardware based, so that was a monopoly, because then you needed a certain card for a certain quality of sound output, or for a certain quality of video output. So NVIDIA or whatever those cards are. So then only these expensive softwares and hardware manufacturing machines could actually give you that quality. So if you see for CD authoring, we used to always go to Singapore because they are very expensive softwares and hardware, because they're very card based. The minute everything moved into software based, which is the current scenario now, it's all software based. So before, even in sound, if you want to put echo or if you want to put a reverb, from that basic to whatever treatment of sound that you want to create, we always had like 8 to 10 cards at least sitting on different CPUs, because we need to kick in each of those cards in the right time for the right effect. But now it's all software based. It's all just a push of button. And of course you need some hardware processing. So then when it has become all software processed, as long as you maintain the quality of level and cleanliness, your hygiene you're happy with. Quality wise, everyone is, I think, come to a par maintaining the quality of output. It's more creative that you need to focus on, because it's more content that you create is what it is. Having said that, there are two modes. One is the content creator mode, the other is the professional mode. When you go to professional mode, where you want to deliver to some other director, another production house, you want to work for say Salman Khan's production house or Dharma Productions, then they come with a certain preset notions of certain studio. They want to work in prime focus, some larger studios, and they have some softwares. So if you want to join such studios and be a technician and a creative person delivering for the industry, yeah, then your game is very different from being a content maker, because content creator, you're deciding by yourself what is good, bad, and if it's okay, and you compromise with yourself with your resources. But the minute you become a professional in the market, then of course, then you are very worried about what software you're using. Like example is, if you go to grading also, they have this big debate, is Resolve and Baselight similar? They're both grading softwares, but there are some DOPs and cameramen who ask for Baselight. Though a Resolve guy will challenge saying, I'll give you the same output. But again, so when you become a professional, then you're delivering to somebody else, and then you need to deliver to what they want and what they think is right. So that's professionalism ultimately. So they're broadly two different spaces. But to answer your question, you can be, the industry standards anyway is broken. Only if you want to work in a studio, then you need to know what that software is and you can pick it up. And I think today all studios, they know that you guys are very smart. You can pick up any software very fast, because you are been using so many softwares, so many apps. Before it was a big barrier. Now for you to learn any other software is, they know it's a matter of a month at the most. It's mainly the discipline of how you're hearing, and if you can recognize the right frequencies and play with them. As far as sound goes, I guess that's the immersiveness, how you can bring in, how your mix is going to sound, and how you're going to distract your audience to the right sound for the narrative. That's going to be your main focus. Softwares and hardwares keep changing. In fact, you will learn one today and tomorrow it will change to another one. So the trend at which softwares have been changing and new softwares are coming in, I don't see any like hold on standards that way.
So coming to my next question, how do you know that you are a professional, and how do you get into professional production houses or not?
See, content creator is when you make your own stuff. There you compromise or you do it to your happiness. But when you become professional, what happens? There is somebody else, there's a director's demand. You might think a certain mix is right. 100%, 101%. But if the director says, no man, it's not working. I would rather have those high frequencies up, and I would rather have this voice muffled, because that's the character, because you don't know the character. So then you're delivering to that. Now, how do you become that? Yeah, you have to belong to a studio where you have production houses coming in with you. When you're a content creator, the production houses don't come and work with you, because you're a creator yourself, and they are creators on the other side of the world. So as creators, they will go to studios where they get technicians a sound engineer to work with, and they will have the demand, okay, I need a 5.1 or 7.1 sound specific, Atmos sound specific studio for me to work on, and I also need it like looking like a theater. So I need, for my film, if I'm doing a mix, I want my theater space, I want a large screen. These demands come in from the production house, and the technician who can handle all of that is the professional sitting there. So there are various size studios. In advertising, you don't have that large studios, but you do sound engineering, and then so you go into such studios. You have to apply and get into such studios as an intern, and then start. So there again, you should have the mindset to start up as an intern and then grow, because they have a different workflow. It's not just delivering. When you're a professional, you're always expecting changes. That's a big difference. Not from what you want, but what the client wants. And how do you tackle those changes? How folder structure is kept. How, as a professional, you communicate with your assistant or with your other engineer. So there is a certain format that's followed in different studios. So for you to understand that, pipeline is where the time is, but your hearing sense and your immersiveness is what you learn as an art form. So that's always there with you. The professional is that you learn to work with a team. I'll tell you, even in video, if you see content makers are making videos on Premiere or Resolve, but then they export it from that. But if you go to a professional setup, they're all different departments. So the editor does the editing part of it. Now for sound, for grading, it has to go to a grading room. So there is an exchange of files that happens there, which is called, either we used to call it EDL, edit decision list, or an XML file, with which you can again go back to the source from the camera rushes, grab it again, do the grade on that. Now for finishing, again it goes to the CG part, for hair cleanup, skin cleanup. But as a content creator, you do all this on your system. So when you become a professional, you also want departments, because you want someone to talk to you only about editing, not about color correction, because that's what you specialize in. And you do the colors, you ask him to edit, he will not edit. He will not even know how to move things around when you're editing the scenes. He gets confused. But he's grading the whole film for you. So everyone gets very specialized in a professional world.
What do you think? Will AI take over the people like us?
So answering your question now, please. So that's what I was saying. So you need to just, it's not a threat, I would say, but yes, you can see what's happened in the industry. If you're looking at visual effects specifically, a lot of people have lost their jobs. But that's also not just because of AI, it's because there was a whole slowdown in Hollywood and in all of those parts with the writer's strike, and generally the output was reduced, the number of films was reduced, so that's why it has come down. So no, it is not because of AI, but unfortunately at the same time both have happened, so we're thinking that AI is eating up all the jobs, but that's not what has actually happened. But having said that, yes, 10 people's work can be done by probably one AI machine, so that is there. So how you up your game is what the thing is. Now you have to use AI and get better visuals and get better, or give better service. If you're a professional, and give better service to your client, give them more options, so they're happy with you and they always come back to you. If you're a content creator, use AI and make your animation, make your content, or at least support it in some form. See, always emotion part is going to be there. As humans, we always will want to see emotions. It's not like it's going to be completely replaced, because in that case, then we would have always had animation films floating around, right? You still have the blockbusters or the live action films. So AI is there. You use the AI and use it to your game. Don't worry about the others. Somebody else might lose their job, but not you.
So one last thing.
No, please go ahead.
2 months back, Adidas launched an whole ad, 19 seconds with the help of Soda AI. It was fully AI based. So what are your thoughts on that?
That will still continue. Let Pepsi and Coke also have, Coke has also come out with their ad, which is fully AI. Having said that, if you look at advertising specifically, AI will be doing a lot of ads, but if you look at the companies and the number of ads, the number of content that we are producing, if you look at that, the percentage is still 1 or 2%, not even 1 or 2% is AI.
But it can grow also, na?
It will grow, but it will not be able to, see, I'll tell you what happened. See, if you see the AI videos, they have a certain quality. The minute you see it, you know it's AI. So very soon, to get a differentiation, people will not choose AI for the final output. I think AI, as far as concept stage and the pre-production stage, AI will, of course, is going to be there, because don't have to do manual storyboarding and all of that. So AI is going to help you. But I think ultimate look and emotion wise, AI is not going to match, at least as of now. You still have the actors who perform against the camera on the screen. So that is going to exist always parallelly. So probably AI is going to be another. You will have AI movies. I'm not saying no. Like you have animation movies. Is that eating up? So you will have AI movies. There'll be people who like gaming. There'll be people who want to spend a lot of money in gaming. People who would want to watch AI movies sometimes if it's made very well. There'll be a lot of combination. The background's are AI, but the actor is there. There are some scenes which is done fully in AI, but then there is also the normal. So there'll be a lot of combinations for sure. Fully AI, I think, beyond a point will get boring. That's what happened to animation also. So that will keep drifting. It's just imagine it's a new department that's come up for you. It's just a new department. AI is another department. So then we need to learn AI also. Okay, learn AI and see how it will help you, and you up your game using AI. It's not going to defeat you. It's only going to empower you. If anything, it's only going to empower you. So use it in a very positive way. So if you see the Philips ad versus Question, in which this guy trying to shave in the train. So the train is, as you know, it was a chroma shoot. I showed you the making of it. Now that we did it in 8 or 10 days max. Now that's something impossible if I look at it 4-5 years back, because to create those realistic backgrounds we would easily take a couple of months. It had to look like, you know, those Swiss Alp mountains outside. It was fully a glass, transparent glass in the train, like these Canadian trains where you see visuals. So, but what we did is, I mean, we could do it because we could use Unreal to produce those backgrounds for us. Once we finished the shoot, we tracked the shots and got Unreal to create all those in it. But it was just an online sharing, you know, that I wanted these shots and they would just give me those shots. And I would get it rendered by the night. So I would get the backgrounds by the night and I put it on the train. So it was that fast. We almost, not more than 10 days for that video. So technology is only going to empower you, wasn't coming at. So there was Unreal that came into our thing. Even if you see AMD, the whole city, if we had to create it before, would take a lot of time. Where the helicopter is coming in. Okay, the helicopter I got it done in Maya and then I got it into Unreal. Even if you see the spacecraft. This is of course 3D Maya. So this is all Unreal. This is completely created in Unreal.
Those who know performance know AMD Ryzen.
This whole thing. That house was real. That house was real. This is Unreal again. This house is real. The backgrounds are real.
Get the latest gaming laptops powered by AMD Ryzen processor.
So the backgrounds are easily generated on Unreal, so we could quickly move forward and creating the backgrounds the right angle.
I have a question. For content creation, there is no money making in there. You have to just grind for 4 or 5 years, then you maybe start earning something. So how is that hot?
Okay, so content creation works slightly differently. Where the money will come is not what you're discussing. Where the money will come is like this. You have to make a plan, the money has to come. So money has to come. 2 ways to go about it. One is you make content, say for a year or 2, which attracts more people in, and you gain, that's the first basic thing, that you gain more viewers and you gain more subscriptions, and you expect a brand to come on board. That's when your money comes in, or when YouTube starts paying you. So 2 things, for YouTube to pay, you have a certain algorithm to hit, but for brands, you don't have. So the minute you start making good content for say 3 months to 4 months, you already started connecting with the brands. So why don't you make content which will appeal to a brand? If you're saying no, you want to make money out of content, then make it targeting it to certain people who you can attract. Suppose you start doing a lot of beauty stuff. So you are telling the world that I can make good digital films or ad films, and you populate your channel with that similar lines of stuff, and you start showing it up to, you start connecting on LinkedIn to the marketing heads, because everybody is looking at low cost deliverables, because marketing is very important for any product. So they might be having a whole infrastructure of agency whom they're paying crores on it, but still there'll be one cookie in that marketing team who's looking out for people to probably kick his boss or to kick somebody else. But get this guy on board, he's doing these kind of films, let's give him a chance. Instead of paying say 50 lakhs to this guy, just pay him 3 lakhs, just try him out. So there's always a possibility. If you are very clear, I know I want to make money professionally on this, then you see who is your target. If I want to, brands are easy because they pay you in advance, they pay you money to finish your product. So then you start making videos which is going to appeal to them. So you have to list out who you want to appeal to, and then make something in that format. So anyway, you as a content creator, you have to spend that 40,000 rupees there. Target someone and then put it there, and then try connecting in that space. You have LinkedIn, where you can put in your profile, you can put in your work, you can be seen there. So good content. So it's not about sitting and then, as a content creator, my 4 years are gone, then what will I do? But no, if you want to win, then you have to make a plan. You have to measure. The minute you measure and make a plan, you will win. There's no two ways about it. Don't look at how others are losing, but just see how you want to win, and you just have to move on. So these are two different things. Once you start doing content creation, and especially if you do it for 4 or 5 years, then you will shy away from getting into the professional space because you're used to having full control on your production. Then you will not like what another professional is doing, because by then you're so engrossed in how your production works, from sound to everything. So it is a possibility. What you're saying is right. Your knowledge is growing way beyond. But on the other end, in the studio culture, they probably will avoid you. Gaining knowledge is one thing, but after you do content creation, then when you go for an interview, you should be very clear what you want to do. That's also one of our topics. You should specifically say, when you go into professional studios, I like, supposing it's editing. When you do content creation, you experiment with all departments, but I like editing. So you can say, yes, I did content creation for the last 3 years. Editing is where my soul is, and I want to process in that. And then you talk only about that. The minute you talk about multiple things, that guy sitting on the chair will think, dude, this guy knows more than me. Why would he take you in? So content creation is different, don't mistake. After 5 years, if you try moving to professionalism, there is this roadblock, but you have to refresh your thinking and choose one path and be clear in all your communication from there on that is what you want to do. How a business owner looks at it. Now you want someone to pay you, right? If you want to do what you want to do, by all means, learn all trades and create your film. But if I'm the studio owner, and if you're going to join my studio, I will use you for, say, color grading or as a sound engineer. You're not managing your clients. The clients are mine. Okay, they love you, they use your name and they come in. But I have a booking, I have a marketing, who are going to bring lineup of clients to work with you for color grading. So if you do color grading, say for 15 hours across 2 or 3 days, and then you say, now I finished my color grading, I want to go and do sound. So you go to the sound department. But we have lined up bookings for you to do color grading, which means I need to make money out of you as a colorist. So in terms of business, then it becomes that you be a professional of one department. Because then I can line up many more clients onto you, and you will also service many more clients in that one job that you do. You can say, I know all of this, but they will say, but you do this because your time is here. But there are days when you are free doing sound grading and you're free, you want to do sound, by all means, please jam up there. In professional space, usually you specialize into something. As content creator, you're free to. No, there are content creators who also, they are the bigger ones, they do different stuff. So it's a blend, but I wanted to expose this professionally. This is what happens in the studios. It's a business. Even if you go to do, even the CG guys always say, I'm doing, I can do 3D modeling, lighting, I can do 3D animation, because you all learn it that way, right? But when you go into bigger studios, they want, if you are doing modeling, you're doing modeling. If you're good in lighting, you're doing lighting, or you might be lighting and texturing. So there's a combination. If you're an animator, you're an animator. The animator department is like far away there. 15 of them doing only animation. So then it gets into the pipeline. And that is how you deliver large films, not by, jumping in different departments. You want to deliver large, because you need a proper pipeline to deliver. There are like
1,200 shots to be delivered. You can't be unorganized because your day is counted as a man day. So when studios does costing for a job, we always say it's 30 man days or it's 60 man days. So 30 man days goes into my modeling, 50 man days goes into animation. So we are counting each man day as a person. But knowing everything is the best thing because for yourself you enjoy it more because you know a lot of things. And if you're doing all of it, then that's the director who will know all the departments, but we'll have somebody else do the work. So in advertising, what happens is the producer is always under an agency script. So then you are giving a cost as a director producer and you get an advance and you get, it's a very little organized sector, which is with brands. So similarly, if you look at jobs and say post-production also, there are two, I mean, if you say advertising post-production, as I said, they work differently, the film differently. But yeah, if you're learning Max, Maya, Blender, the softwares are the same, but you just work in different pipelines. Advertising still can accommodate some generalists who can do both 3D and 2D, but most in films, they usually have it as separate departments. So there are small differences, but like I told you, it's mainly what concept that you learn that is going to help you out. So even in content creation, you have the list of all these equipments, editors, directors, technicians, studio, line producer, coordinator. But the only thing is here, everything is one person or 2-3 persons together. So it depends on what space you're getting in. Even if you go to a studio which is creating content, it's all compressed because the budgets are smaller. When you go to advertising, then it's slightly bigger. When you go to features, it's much more bigger because if you look at a quote in advertising, you're like post-production is say 15-20 lakhs. If you go to a feature film, usual costs are 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs to a crore, 2 crores. So depending on that, depending on the business, the professionals are taken on board. So that's a big difference in how these different studios, post-production studios function. Even if you look at cameramen, the way they shoot, advertising is very different, the way they shoot, features different because you have such a long format to capture. Advertising, you might be doing a 30-second shoot in a day. But in a feature in a day, you'll have to cover at least say 5 to 10 minutes of screen time. Okay, one more thing, just so that I know you've not asked me the question, but I'm going to tell you that. Going for interview is very important. So the way you guys go for interview, the first look from the management or the person who's interviewing is very crucial. Of course, be before time. I've seen many times that people come late. I think being before time is the first impression that you give anyone. So when you ask, you always have a lot of softwares that you know, a lot of talents that you have. You must always say, I've learned these and you're going to grow in those. Many times, not you guys, but I know some people come with this impression that no, I know this, I've done my course, I've spent 4 lakhs in this, and then I've done my 3 years in this. So if your attitude says that I know it all, so you very well hire me. See, most people in the interview table are looking at the attitude, honestly. Because today, learning software, many people are doing learning software. If you're learning a certain talent, it's all open in YouTube, it's all there in Google. Even as a scriptwriter, you have AI to support you. But in a company, in a studio, who's going to pay you money, most of them are looking at your attitude. If you come on time, the way you dress, the way you speak to them, and the way what you can express more is that I want to learn with you and I want to be part of your team. Is the vibration that you need to give when you go for an interview. And that is how they will onboard you because they can easily train you as long as the attitude is right. Software is easily available. It's nothing very difficult. And not only you, there are anybody else who's not even in a college have learned the software. It's about you want to learn, you want to be part of the team. That should be the expression that you always give. And be specific about what you want to do if you are in. And do a little study of the studio or wherever you're joining, which company, production or whatever, before you go, so you know what kind of work they like and speak that language. So it's the attitude and what you say in the interview, just be careful about.
As a freelancer like him,
Correct.
How do they apply to studio? Do they just work as a freelancer or there is no specification?
For what jobs is it?
As a camera guy or as me myself, sound engineer.
Sound engineer, there's a full-time job.
Okay.
Sound engineer is a full-time paid, monthly paid job. See, how will he call you? The main thing what he wants to know, what is your education? What is your age? Where you come from, where do you stay close by, far away, what is your job? Because if you have 3 resumes, one guy staying next door, I might as well pick him because late night work is not an issue for him, I don't have to pay him. So they need that information. I mean, we are not just suddenly transponding ourselves into one.
But we have to show more of our creative work there, right?
both are necessary. Your resume will talk about what education you've gone through and where you stay and what courses you've done. So when we see you've done, say, filming on mobile, and you've done a small course in FTI, or you've done something, we think, okay, this guy is slightly more interested. So those general things is what we get out of it. Then of course physically when we meet, your attitude and what you do about it. And of course the reel has to be, I would still say reel has to be good, but even if it's not that good, we are still okay to take you on board if your attitude and everything else works well, because the remaining can be groomed. The problems that you face makes you. It's not that you're watching YouTube. That way you watch YouTube, it will give you guidance on how to light and you will have a fantastic shot. That doesn't mean you become that. See, resume always works, or a LinkedIn profile always works, so people want to know what you are, at least the beginning stages. At least in the beginning, because beyond that your work will speak. When you're like 8-10 years down the lane, then nobody's asking for resume. Then they're only asking for you. Please have to share your time. Thank you guys. Any more questions?
Sir.
I hope there's no more questions. Chalo.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you. You're a fantastic audience. You're very quiet.